So here we are in Minchinhampton Parish Church. I'm standing next to a poster which says organ recital and reception. I don't know whether you can see, but somebody has written postponed. Coronavirus put pay to that. Now, I was due to give the organ recital and give a little spiel about the organ and why it needs to be restored. I've taken the decision to tell you about it online, partly because if I don't, I'll just forget what I was going to say. And also perhaps you can then enjoy looking at the inside of the organ. So anyway, come with me to the organ over there. Okay, so welcome to my workstation. Only my workstation doesn't normally look like this. I've taken the music desk out and I'm going to show you the action of the instrument in a moment. I was talking with a friend of mine down the pub the other day and he said, oh, this reception would be able to tell them all that's wrong with the organ and why they need to spend lots of money on it. Well, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you what's right with the organ and why we need to look after it. But first, I need to switch the thing on. This rather ungainly contraption here is how we switch it on. A little bit complicated. And there's the telltale showing me how much air there is in the reservoir and the bellows. So one of the things that attracted me to playing the organ here at Minch was the fact that it's a tracker action instrument. That's a mechanical instrument. I've taken the music desk away and you can see if I press the top keys along here how there's a system of pulleys and levers, and these trackers here are attached to the wind chest and where the pipes sit about 20 feet above my head. It's a testament to the guys that built this instrument that this is basically the action that was put there in the 1880s. Because it's mechanical, it means that I can control the air that goes into the pipe, absolutely. But as you can see from the way it's been adjusted over the years and various bits have been added to it, it's getting a bit rickety and a bit wobbly. So here we are, here's what we call the great organ, middle keyboard, and you can see that pressing the keys, you can see all these levers operating and it connects up with the pipes right above at the top of the instrument. The only problem with this mechanical action, of course, is that the more angles and levers that the mechanism has to go through, the heavier it gets. And this instrument is particularly heavy, particularly when you join the manuals together. So for instance, swell to great, that's this manual and this manual joined together, it becomes really quite heavy. I'll demonstrate a bit of that later on, but you can hear quite a little bit of mechanical noise going on. Obviously I haven't got any stops pulled out at the moment. The great advantage of mechanical action instruments, of course, not only do you have total control over the air going into the pipes, but also it's very easy to see when something goes wrong. You can see where a bit of the mechanism is broken or whatever. And it's a tried and tested method. It's been around since the Middle Ages and it just works, and it's fantastic that this action has survived 140 years, but it's showing its age and we need to do something about it, preferably rebuild it. And so just to play you some sounds from the organ, I'll need to put the music desk back in place, so just bear with me a moment. Voila. Okay, so we talk about the organ, or an organ as one entity, but actually it's three separate instruments all joined together, and that's why we have three manuals. The main one, the loudest one, is called the great organ, and these stops over here, and I'll show you those pipes in a moment, controlled by the middle manual. The next loudest is what's labelled here as the choir organ. On normal instruments it's used for accompanying choirs, but obviously our choir sits on the left of where I am at the moment. These pipes are actually the ones that speak into the church. If you sit in the church, they're on the left, and that's controlled by this low manual. And then upstairs here we have what's known as the swell organ, which are all these pipes over here. It's called swell organ because it's contained in a box which has some shutters. You can open or shut them to make the sound get louder or quieter, whichever way you want to go. So I thought I'd just play you some of the pipes and really demonstrate the beautiful sounds that this instrument can make. So when you come up to communion, look to your left, you'll see a whole row of organ pipes. These are the main, what we call the 8-foot pipes. They're called 8-foot pipes because the longest pipe is, in fact, 8 feet long. These are the foundation to the sound. Here's one. was open diapason. That's open diapason number 2. In fact, we've got 2 of these. Here's the bigger one of those. Here's one of my favourite hymns. And you can hear the difference in the sound if I just play that chord again. So one is very much louder than the other. So what we can do then is then add octaves and make the sound bigger. So here is open diapason number 1 with an octave higher. And immediately the sound is straight on richer. Here's 2 octaves as well. And on this instrument we have some extra colour stops. Here's the 12th, which actually, instead of sounding an octave or 2 octaves above the original, is an octave and a half. So it's actually playing the equivalent of that note there. And then there's another mixture as well. So this builds up what we call the great chorus, which is a really fantastic sound on this instrument. To that. That's the kind of organ sound that we know and love. Also on the grate, some flutes. These are lovely. There's another octave as well I can add to that. So that was the great organ. I'm going to talk about the swell organ, this top manual. This has lots of quieter stops. Here's a nice little solitional. Which I can combine with this stop here, the voix céleste, celestial voices in French obviously. These are designed to be played together. This one's slightly out of tune with that one and it gives this wobbly effect. Here's a little bit of a berceuse by Vian. Unlike on the grate, we've got a stop diapason, which is a flute, which is quite quiet. And combined with the solitional is here's one of the hazards of playing this organ. I'd forgotten that note is really out of tune at the moment, so sorry about that. Open diapason. Again with its principal 4-foot, we're going to add that. And then there's a mixture to make it brighter. And cornopium, which is a kind of trumpet song. And here's one of the hazards of playing this instrument as well. Here's a scale of C major on the cornopian. Slightly quieter reed stop, the oboe. Okay, so I'm going to play you a little bit of a piece by Herbert Howells, Gloucestershire composer, showing the stops on the swell organ, and then I'm going to bring in one of the flutes from the great organ. what's not to like about that? It's just beautiful. And here's a little bit of the open diapason number 1 and the refurbishment 8 foot together. This is a beginning of a prélude modal by Jean Langlais, 20th century French composer. Okay, that's the grate, but what actually Jean Langlais wants is also to have these stops added. So we're going to add them to the grate with the couplers, just to fill out the sound a bit more. Creamy sound. Now we're talking about coupling the manuals together. I can join the manuals together through these stops here, and you probably saw that if you watch the upper manual, you can see the key is coming down. That's because when I'm pressing the grate key, it's connected by another bit of the mechanism to the upper one. That's all very well and good. On normal organs it shouldn't actually be that much heavier to play. This isn't quite a normal organ. It means that things get very heavy. And I don't know whether you noticed, I was actually having to lean into the keys to get the keys to actually bottom out. It takes quite a lot of effort. It's fine for playing hymns, but if you want to play anything faster, then it's really quite knackering on your fingers. Okay, so we talked about the grate and the swell. Here's the choir organ. Same sort of principle. There's a 8 foot stop. Okay, here's another one, which is quieter. And then we can add an octave to that. Here's 2 octaves. And again, there's a Rauschquint, which is quite a sharp sounding. This one, which currently has lost its label, needs to be stuck back on. Don't tell the rector. Nazat. Okay, which is again is another one of those pipes, which is 2 octaves and a fifth. It is, so it's actually playing that note there, adding that colour. There's also this thing here, a tromba. So this has been added at a later date. And now, if you're of a slightly nervous disposition, you don't want to be sitting on the left-hand side of the church. And problem with this, it's a little bit loud, actually, compared to the rest of the organ. And here's another little disadvantage. I discovered this one Sunday morning when doing the introduction to the Thorn Gloria. Here's a scale of D major. I wonder if you can spot anything missing. It'd be nice if that note worked. Okay, because the Gloria introduction went, which is not quite what we were intending. And there's also another trumpet on the grate as well. This is another rather too loud. You can actually see it. If you're in the lady chapel, you can see the tops of the pipes poking over the top. Again, this has been added in the 1930s, I think it was. So we could do a little. Just give me a minute. Okay. Oh, we can't do it in that key. It'd be nice to be able to do it at the proper pitch, which is up here. Okay, I think I've made my point about that note. So that's that really, and we haven't talked about the pedal. The pedal stops are these ones down here. So 16 foot means they're like the double bass in the orchestra. They sound an octave below the notes actually written. That one's very stiff. This one is a lot less stiff. The open diapason and 16 foot. I'll do a little quick pedal solo on this and you get an idea of how this one sounds. Be nice if that worked too. For some reason that's been disconnected. Here's the 8-foot version of the same thing. It's a bit wheezy. Here's the 16-foot board on with it. But if you want to brighten things up a bit, okay, what we can do is to add the trombone to the proceedings. Bit vulgar, bit loud, and it's kind of adds a bit of colour down the bottom there when you need it. So that's basically the organ. Okay, some lovely pipe work there, really nice. And Nicholson Lord in Warsaw in 1887, they did a jolly good job. The only problem is it's beginning to fall apart and it doesn't all work in the way it should do, which is a bit of a shame really. I mean, simple things like having the swell pedal right over here, it should be a normal instrument, it's there, right in the middle where you can actually reach it without having to do some mischief. And the grate to pedal mechanism is over there on the left hand side. On normal instruments they're right next to each other because you need to use them in conjunction, but if you're trying to do this, well, I'll leave that to your imaginations. The mechanical action kind of works, it basically needs to be rebuilt. But we need to decide what to do about the choir organ, because the choir organ, I think in the 70s, was converted to an electro-pneumatic action. So that means that there's a whole series of contacts and ventils that control the pipes. That's fine, it makes it lighter to play than the rest of the organ, but it doesn't behave in the same way as the rest of the organ does. So what we need to do is to put an action in that is either one or the other, ideally, in my humble opinion. Anyway, go on the Music at Minch channel, YouTube, and you'll hear the organ being played in its various forms, but that's just a little quick guide as to how the instrument is, and one or two of its little foibles. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's just getting a bit boring.